The national cultural policy is generally regarded as an instrument of promotion of national identity and, of course, Nigeria's unity. It also serves as an instrument of communication and cooperation among different Nigerian or African cultures. The Nigerian Constitution has that provision regarding the rights of Nigerian people enshrined to develop and promote their culture, and it is estimated that the culture industry is worth hundreds of millions of US dollars and could potentially be valued at about 100 billion US dollars in the coming years if properly harnessed. Now the question is, why has this sector been neglected for such a long time, and what are the income that Nigeria has, or rather, what is the kind of income from that industry that Nigeria has not benefited from? We'll be finding that out in the course of this program. My name is Leah Katung-Babatunde, and as always, it's nice to have you join me on the policy with Leah. We'll be back after this break. We begin the business of the day from the trends table.
The World Bank has approved 3 operations worth $1.57 billion to support the government of Nigeria in strengthening human capital through better health for women, children, and adolescents, and building resilience to the effects of climate change such as floods and droughts through improving dam safety and irrigation. The new financing includes $500 million for addressing governance issues that constrain the delivery of education and health, HopeGov, $570 million for the Primary Healthcare Provision Strengthening Program, HOPE-PHC, and $500 million for the Sustainable Power and Irrigation for Nigeria Project, SPIN. A statement by the World Bank noted that the programs will support the government of Nigeria to improve service delivery in the basic education and primary healthcare sectors, which are critical towards improving Nigerians' human capital outcomes. They would also support improvement of dam safety and management of water resources for hydropower and irrigation in selected areas of Nigeria. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, has unveiled 2 major fiscal incentives aimed at revitalizing Nigeria's oil and gas sector. They are the Value-Added Tax VAT Modification Order 2024 and the Notice of Tax Incentives for Deep Offshore Oil and Gas Production. The VAT Modification Order 2024 introduces exemptions on a range of key energy products and infrastructure, including diesel, feed gas, liquefied petroleum gas LPG, compressed natural gas CNG, electric vehicles, liquefied natural gas LNG infrastructure, and clean cooking equipment. These measures are designed to lower the cost of living, bolster energy security, and accelerate Nigeria's transition to cleaner energy sources. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has for the 7th time failed to begin fuel production at the Port Harcourt refinery in Rivers State. Since December 2023, NNPCL has given Nigerians different dates, assuring them that the refinery will begin the sale of refined products soon. In July, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPC, Mr. Leah Katung, categorically stated that the refinery will come into operation in early August, and after the failure of the August promise, Chief Financial Officer of the NNPC, Umar Ajia, said the Port Harcourt refinery will commence operations in September 2024, a date that has also failed. The National Pension Commission, PENCOM, has granted approval for the merger between ARM Pension Managers PFA Limited and Access Pensions Limited. The new entity is now to be known as Access ARM Pensions Limited. With the merger, the total number of pension fund administrators PFAs in Nigeria now stands at 18.
So it is said that when you know where you're coming from, you're halfway to your desired destination, and that is why we present to you this conversation on Nigeria's cultural policy. It is a complex world out there, and despite the potentials of Nigeria's culture, it is yet to bring much expected traffic or the desired income that Nigeria has been yearning for. Culture, society, and development. Where is the perfect thin line that brings them together, and what are the binding factors? Is it a policy issue, or are there other underlying factors affecting the thriving nature of culture in other climes that we do not see here in Nigeria? Well, we'll be finding out in a moment, and I have joining me for the conversation the former artistic director and chief executive officer of the National Troupe of Nigeria, and he is Ahmed Mohammed Ahmed, and it's nice to have you, sir, join me for this conversation.
It's a pleasure being here with you.
And how has life been outside public office?
Well, I went back to where I came from, the development work. I've been working already, in the development work, basically demand generation, social behavior change, communication, advocacy. Before I was appointed by the previous president, Muhammad Buhari. When I left, that's exactly what I went back to do.
And considering Nigeria's diverse cultures, I mean, you've been in that space for a while, and I think you need to help our understanding. Is Nigeria making the best of the cultural space?
Well, that's a very important question that you've asked, whether we have been, really utilizing the diverse cultures that we have in this country, to ensure that, apart from mitigating our own developmental, potentials, also looking at, the thrust that we should have, in the global arena. I would say, to a certain extent, Nigeria is really tapping deeply into its own cultural, preserve, both tangible and intangible. But when we look at the bigger picture, to say that there is a very good understanding from the Nigerians' perspective, as individuals, as communities, to say we're utilizing culture to re-engineer, the development of our own communities, to look at how we want it to be seen by the global community in a very positive light that can bring in friendship and a lot of resources in terms of capital, because culture, you can be able to use culture, to really drive a lot of resources from the world. I would say truly we're not doing much in that direction. And just like you started, some of it, I could say, is basically because of there may be some policy issues around that environment, because if you look at Nigeria's cultural policy, it's obsolete. It's a policy that's been done almost about 3 to 4 decades ago. It has not been reviewed. And for a nation like Nigeria, there is a need for us to have a cultural policy that every state and local government can be able to adapt to. Where when you go to community A and community B, maybe at a different power, you will be able to see how they are harnessing that cultural potential, to really ensure that they are really moving their own developmental agendas forward in terms of peace building. We are now talking about climatic issues. The issue we're having today in terms of our, agriculture and what have you, depending on our climatic issues, there are a lot of, communities that used to be agrarian communities today, they are barren. Because people have already depleted their natural resources, which I could say are also byproducts with their cultural, preserve. So the need for us to really have a very robust cultural policy for Nigeria that can drive, everything we do, both cultural, we talk about culture, we're talking about even the creative economy. Yes, we say that in creative economy we are doing very well. Our music is flying, our films are really making it, our fashion is really also selling. But why is the confluence? Why is the point? Why we could be able to say, yes, as a Nigerian, I can pause to say, when I go to, I'm from the north, when I go to the east, I can be able to see a kind of semblance of buy-in, from, both two parts of Nigeria. Do you get the point? Because culture is dynamic. People move around. Nigerians, we travel a lot. Do you get the point? So how do we have that kind of conversation as a people, with one, vision of ensuring that our diversity in cultural work for us in a very positive, way. And that cannot happen until there is a deliberate attempt to ensure that we align, the focus and the understanding of Nigerians, towards that direction. And that could only become, from a government perspective.
Okay, looking at realigning the focus and the thinking really of Nigerians, it would look like we're lacking a sense of thoroughness of history. I'm asking this question because it looks like we're putting history aside. Is that what is happening?
I would say that's the truth. Yes. We're putting history aside, and that's why people are not learning. You can see that every day, people are bringing, new ideas, but they don't have a hinge, of what really happened yesterday. If they do have, the journey could have been smoother. Do you get the point? When people are, start talking about, the great differences that people have, do you ever sit back to think about, okay, what are the similarities that we used to have before the differences? Do you get the point? Even when Nigeria was born in 1960, so to say, when we got our independence, yes, we are a regional government, but those people who put us, as a people, do you get the point, must have worked together with one vision to achieve what they wanted to achieve. Yes, our development might have been at a different phase because we are at a different, end of the world. But the truth is that there is a lot of understanding, from our, I would say, those who really gave us, our own independence, so to say, our Zik, Sadona of blessed, all of them of blessed memory. Do you get the point? And what we have done is for us at any given time to look at the positive side of what they did, for us to grow. But people are not learning from that perspective. We are still being individualistic. We're being looking at ourselves as if we're a separate entity, when we have common interest, which is the country itself. Do you get the point? So that's exactly what I'm trying to look at. Yes, we could have diverse cultures. We are a people of different, background, what have you. But we must have a common interest that really ran us around. And that common interest could be oiled by the good sides of what we know, about what really happened in the past, and then we can be able to take it, towards the future. And unfortunately, when you look at even, some of the trends in our social media, so to say, you will see that most of our youth don't even learn what happened in the past. While I was there was a time I started to come up with a concept that talked about Nigeria first. The idea is, if, for instance, a child grew up in a family, knows that that family came up from a community, and that community grows within a society. Do you get the point? The information that that child gets from household to the community level is the simplest information that is really accurate for him to be able to decide exactly how they need to also move their life forward, and also help others along the way, to do the same. Do you get the point? But unfortunately, there is always a break. Our education system, it's a reason that we started discussing about, okay, bringing back history to the table. If you go home, probably ask your child about maybe Zik or blessed memory, they may not even know. I mean, even the immediate past leaders that left, their history is gone. But for a leader to live within the people, that leader must have left a legacy for those people to also learn from. If I say leader, I'm not just talking about political leaders.
Yeah, of course.
Do you get the point?
Of course, yeah.
Community leaders, religious leaders, leaders in occupational, environment. Do you get the point? A leader would have left something for people to really also buy into, and then, develop and then move forward. We don't learn from them. We always castigate, our leaders, people, as if, they are coming from heaven. Do you get the point? So truly, yes, there is this kind of, I would say, lacuna, within that system that needs to be filled here, not just by government, but even by family themselves. Today, the families have also left, some of their role, as, people who nurture the future, just to the outside environment for it to really work on their children. You can't leave your child on the street and expect that the child could really learn something much more tangible than what they should have learned, at home. So when you sit back sometimes at old age, you say, yeah, I'm happy that these children are not taking me, to somewhere that I don't want it to go.
Is religion playing a role in slowing down our culture? I'm asking this question basically because not until recently, for instance, we don't hear, we finally got some states to acknowledge a day for the traditionalists to celebrate their religion. And when most of us are religious people, even though we do bad things, but is that taking away the culture of who we are, where we are coming from? Most of us will want to, for instance, dress, look, and act like the people where these faiths are coming from, but it's their culture, right? So why are we throwing away our culture? Is it affecting us in any way at all?
Well, I would say, basically, it's not about religion. It's about the understanding of religion itself.
Okay.
I belong to a particular religion. You belong to a particular religion. The other person belongs to another particular religion. It's all in our effort to communicate with the higher being. Almost every human person believes that there is a higher being, beyond you. But sometimes people tend to prioritize what they think they have above what others have. That kind of spiritual complex and what have you, used to create that kind of issue. When God created human beings, He gave us that, intellect to understand Him the way we wanted to understand Him and also worship Him the way we wanted to worship Him. So if people could really appreciate what they have and also try to understand the next person from the way they behave, do you get the point? It would have really been better for us. But I don't think it's religion. It is the way we do religion. Do you get the point? It's not about religion. Religion is about you trying to ensure that you meet up your own spiritual need. Yes, in trying to meet up with your spiritual need, you might likely also have an interaction with the next person. Could be your child even, could be your wife. Do you get the point? But the understanding that we're at a different spiritual realm will help you allow other people to also express themselves the way they want to express themselves. Because most religions teach about, peace, unity, love, kindness. Do you get the point? It talks about happiness, being, giving a smile, to whoever you see. So religion teaches, the religions that I know, I'm sorry to say it, and even the African religion itself.
We do the exact opposite of that.
Exactly. So if people do what they wanted to do, they also claim it's religion, but it's not religion. That's the truth about it. Nigerian Constitution, which also appreciates our diversity as a nation, gave right to every Nigerian to profess whatever they wanted to profess. Nigerian Constitution encouraged Nigerians to marry across religious lines, tribal lines. Nigerian Constitution encourages Nigerians to form associations based on interest, bringing diverse people from diverse background, religious background. Do you get the point? So there is a vision already in our own constitution that ensures that there is a level playing ground for everybody, to participate.
Another concern is you find that today, if a community is having a cultural activity, predominantly everybody there will be from that community or that tribe. You don't see a good number of other tribes, other communities coming to celebrate with them. What does that do for the culture? What does that do for the economy now of Nigeria? Because we travel from here, for instance, Nigerians travel to Nottingham, Nigerians travel to Brazil, and we go there, we spend our money and go there, but we don't do that locally, and we don't see the foreign component as well.
Yeah. This is what the cultural policy will have stimulated us to be doing. That integration you're talking about, that appreciation of other people's cultures, by visiting the environment, to also witness and also take it. It's not happening because those who are supposed to catalyze those processes might have maybe not really understood, that kind of trend as a potential element that can, bridge some gaps, create opportunities. If we will have a policy, I will still insist on this kind of policy because I was part of the cultural sector. I worked as a director in my state. I retired as a director of culture before I ventured into, the political arena. Do you get the point? If you don't have anything that you can be able to hinge your thinking, your framework on, you only work in silos. That's why you'll find out that yes, we may have ministries, we may have agencies, but is there this interconnectedness in terms of harnessing the bigger picture of our cultural entity, to move, whatever agenda Nigeria has, forward? I don't think and I don't feel that is there. People who are the preserve of our cultures need to be involved. Young people who are now coming up without proper guidance, cultural guidance, need to be involved. Those who are now managing us in terms of leadership should be involved so that we'll have a total picture of what Nigeria has. And in every part of Nigeria, when I'm going to, in that environment, I can be able to, sit in and say, yes, exactly what, we have, and then I can be able to also enjoy it. And then I assure you, this will work very well.
So marketing the culture, where are we missing it? Where are we getting it wrong? People need to be part of selling the Nigerian culture, irrespective of where you're coming from and where that culture is being practiced.
Yeah, the truth is that Nigerians need to understand that whether you like it or not, you have a place that you live, and that place has its own culture. Whatever you profess as an individual, there is a need for you to ensure that that most important element of the what people believed in and also practice are promoted. Because there is no society that can really exist harmoniously without appreciating their own cultural preserve. What you have is what you have. Even though the white people are talking about, they have a culture that they preserve. They have a religion, yes, but their religion does not discourage them in ensuring that they live the life, of their past and their present, so they can be able to also envision their future. And that's why they're moving forward. Culture is a community thing. You get the point? Yes, it could be a community that creates its own culture. But when you are coming together as a nation, which is the bigger picture, there is that need for you to really reflect, the colors of your country, the beauties of your country, the food of your, everything that country has could be multidimensional, but needs to be, presented in that kind of light. So that may not happen with just individuals or communities. It has to be oiled around a policy direction that allows, systems within government and within the community to tap into and use. For instance, if we can be able to sell the culture of preserving some of our cultural elements in our communities, there has to be centers designated for those kind of things. Do you get the point? The centers should be accessible to the community people and even to people who are coming in. Who build those centers? Do you get the point? Who facilitate the building of those centers? Who man those centers? So today, if you look at curating arts, it's government. Private individuals hardly curate arts. They bring them to, where they are, there are exhibitions, and then they show, because it's a cost-intensive, process. Train local community guides. Do you get the point? And then link them up with local resources to say, okay, let the resources within the community be invested in ensuring that this is maintained. Do you get the point? And then when we're talking about creativity, money may be coming in. People come and see, just give them tickets. They pay and they see whatever they want to see. And then you also recoup that money into that kind of system. It will last longer.
Okay, most sincerely, thank you for sharing these insights with us, and hoping that we'll get there someday.
God willing, we will.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Aldo Mekori.
Keep watching the policy with Leah.
It aims to provide policymakers an opportunity to explain their policies in a way that members of the public affected by those policies can understand and engage with those policies.
Keep watching the policy with Leah.
We move on to our education segment, Simplify These, and we head straight to the market afterwards. The much we can take on this episode. For more details on market rates, do well to log on to our sister website. It is www.marketnigeriatv.com. We have all the details there for you. Until we come your way again same time next week, don't forget to give us your questions, comments, and suggestions to help us serve you better, because on this program we strive to get you closer to the policies as much as possible, because a working Nigeria is good for each and every one of us. Have a beautiful weekend, and God bless Nigeria.